In this video, I'm going to show you how to make over $100 per hour by moving to Australia on a working holiday visa. Let's go. It's no secret that Australia is a very expensive country to both live and work. That's what makes the working holiday visa so perfect. You get 1 year to earn some money, make some memories, and travel one of the most diverse and exciting countries there is. And how do I know this? Well, my name's Dane, I'm 28, I'm from the UK, been to 43 countries, and I've spent the last year living and working in Australia. I can't promise that by watching this video, you will earn $100 per hour. You might, it's definitely possible. It happened to me one time, but I will show you the basics, tell you where to look, and point you in the direction. So when you come to Australia, you're more confident when looking for work. We'll also be speaking to Sophie from Ireland. She's just completed her first working holiday visa. She's had a number of jobs, so I thought, let's get another backpacker's perspective on the working holiday visa and give you guys some more advice on how and where to look for jobs. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe down below. This video is part of my Moving to Australia travel series, where I give you guys advice and information on everything you need to know to make the most out of your working holiday visa in Australia. I will link the other videos here and down below, so make sure you check those out if you need any other guidance. If you have any questions at all, leave them down below and I'll try and cover this in a Q&A at the end of this series. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're moving to Australia on a working holiday visa, you are gonna need this: travel insurance. Never travel without it. Let me introduce you to Safetywing. Safetywing is a monthly travel insurance that covers you for worldwide travel, including down under. Whether you're backpacking the East Coast or looking to move here for work, Safetywing has got you covered. Healthcare isn't free in Australia. So if you end up injured, you lose your passport, or worse, you end up in hospital, you're gonna find yourself in a tricky situation. With Safetywing's monthly travel insurance, you can have peace of mind that you're covered whilst enjoying your big Aussie adventure. I've used Safetywing for the last 2 years traveling around the world. I like it because A, I can purchase it on the road and I can cancel it at any time because it is a monthly insurance. Not that we're going to be cancelling because we've got too many places to see. I'll have a link in my description below so you can find out more about Safetywing's travel insurance, and a big thank you to Safetywing for sponsoring the channel. Now, let's go back to the video. You would have seen it on TikTok or maybe the news, but Australia is the perfect place to live, work, and travel because you get paid well and there's so much to see. If you're moving to Australia, it's expensive and you're gonna wanna travel. So in the famous words of Kim Kardashian,
get your ass up and work.
So you've moved to Australia on a working holiday visa, or you are planning to move here and you just wanna be a bit more prepared. I was not very prepared at all. I just moved here, winged it. Now I'm going to tell you guys exactly what to do. A few basics. Firstly, if you're moving here, you're going to need to open up a bank account. There are a few main ones. The big one is Commonwealth Bank. Pretty much everyone I know in Australia has a Commonwealth bank account. You can apply online to open an account before you even arrive in Australia. And then when you land here, you can go into Commonwealth Bank, show them your ID and all your forms, and then they post the card out. Next thing, there are 2 types of tax numbers that I'm aware of that may apply to working holiday visas / backpackers. The first up is a TFN, which stands for tax file number. You'll need to give this to your employer to be on the right tax code. You apply for this online, it takes like 5 minutes, but they do say it takes up to 30 days to receive the number in the post. If you're like me, I started work straight away, so I needed to know my TFN. Just give them a call and just say, yo, start work on Monday, need to know my TFN. They'll give it to you over the phone, sweet as. The other one is ABN. So if you're a freelancer or you're setting up your own business, or some jobs may ask you to be ABN registered. This stands for Australian Business Number, and it basically is the number that you need to do your taxes at the end of the year. In Australia, tax season runs from the beginning of July for that following year. You have to legally do your taxes if you earn over $45,000. Next thing is tax rates. This is the sweet part of a working holiday visa. So back home in the UK, I feel like 30, maybe even 40% of my wages goes to like tax, national insurance, student loans, pension, everything. So I feel like working in Australia on a working holiday visa is really good for earning money because you only get taxed 15%. So that means if you earn $1,000, you would take home $850. Anything from $45,000 to $120,000 is taxed at the normal Australian rate of 32.5%. Next up, superannuation is 10.5%, and this isn't coming out of your wages, this is coming out of your employer's wages. So any employment that you have in Australia, they legally have to pay you 10.5% of your earnings as your superannuation, which is essentially your pension. And another good thing about the working holiday visa is that, say if you only worked in Australia for a year, you left, you never returned, you can actually apply to get some of that money back that was paid into your superannuation, which is really nice. Minimum wage in Australia is $21.38. Generally, people in Australia get paid a lot better, and that is why it's one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Next term that you might see when applying for jobs or looking for employment is the terminology casual loading. This basically means you'll get paid more, but you'll have less benefits as a permanent full-time employee. Personally, I think this is a really great option for someone on a working holiday visa because you have a lot more flexibility. You don't actually have to work. Usually it's like 25%, if not more, of what you would be paid usually, but that means you won't get sick pay or annual leave or holiday pay or anything like that. And lastly, work limitations. So most jobs in Australia, if you're on a working holiday visa, you can only work there for up to 6 months for that employer in that workplace. If you're working in jobs in remote areas, or you're a teacher or a nurse or someone in social care, those professions are exempt from this rule, so it means you could work for them for the full 12 months that you're living in Australia. Let's just quickly go back in time, and I'm going to share with you how I managed to get my first job in Australia. So December 2021, I applied for my first working holiday visa, and then I thought, okay, I'm gonna need to find some work as soon as I get there because I was running out of money when I was traveling. Back in the UK, I'm a registered social worker. I've done that as a profession for the last 6 years. So moving to Australia, it just made sense that I wanted to continue doing social work. Firstly, I know that I was good at it. I know it's a job that I could walk straight into because it's a profession that is always in need of workers. The first thing I did was go onto Facebook, and then I typed in social workers in Australia. So I put a little post in there, said, you know, I'm Dane, I'm a social worker, I'm looking to move to Australia. How do you get a job in this country? I felt very lucky in my situation. Basically, a recruiter who recruits social workers, social care workers, commented on my post and said, you know, I'm a recruiter in Sydney, let's have a chat. So whilst I was in Mexico, we had a FaceTime and I told her a bit about my history of work, and we got the ball rolling. I did the application process, got all my checks done. So pretty much when I landed in Australia, I went for an interview on like my 3rd day, and then I started work like 2 weeks later. One piece of advice I would give you if you are moving to Australia is don't put pressure on yourself to find a job straight away. I think I was very lucky that, you know, the universe put me in touch with this random recruiter. She found me work straight away, but it's not always like that, and I really didn't think it was gonna be that easy. Being a backpacker, you're gonna have to be resourceful. Although there are heaps of jobs in Australia, there are also heaps of other backpackers looking for work as well. You're gonna need to make one decision. Would you like a corporate 9-to-5 job, or are you looking for a casual backpacker job that you can leave whenever you want? So if you're looking for a professional / corporate job, there's a few different websites that I would look. Now, the main websites that I use in Australia are LinkedIn, Aura, Indeed, Workforce Australia, and Seek. If you're looking for more casual work, get that resume / CV done because you're going to be going around town looking for work. The other places are backpacker boards. If you see a company or a place you want to work for, just reach out to them, be like, hey, you hiring at the moment? If not, when are you hiring? And I always think with these things, if you don't ask, it's already a no. So what's the harm in asking? Job websites, I've seen a few of these. One of them is called Abroadly, which used to be called Adopt a Backpacker. I had a quick scroll on there, and there seems to be a lot of jobs on there, and a few aimed towards like getting your 88 days. So if you're looking for regional work or work that fulfills the criteria of the 88 days, go look on that. I'll link that down below as well. The biggest one is Facebook. I feel like Facebook is used a lot in this country. I personally have a Facebook account, but I only actually use it to look on like Australian travel groups or Australian job groups, that sort of thing. Facebook is a really big marketplace to be looking for jobs as a working holiday visa. So definitely be creative, be willing to move as a backpacker. I think that's a really big part of doing this visa, is you might find a job and it might not be where you want to live, or it might not be in a city, it might be in the middle of nowhere. I'm not here to keep secrets. I'm here to show you guys how to make the most money. We don't have this in England. So when I found out about this, I was like, what? It's kind of crazy. But basically, in Australia, they have this thing called penalty rates, which basically means if you work unsociable hours, you get paid more. So if you work Saturday, a Sunday, or a bank holiday, you're gonna be rolling in it, mate. Well, more than if you worked like Monday to Friday. Let me tell you how I earn $100 an hour. So I'm just gonna preface this by saying this only happened one time because it was New Year's Day. But when I heard about how much I could earn by working New Year's Day, I was like, sign me up. So my rate of pay at this casual support work job was like $38.50, something like that. On public holidays, it's 2.5 your normal hourly rate. So I got paid about $96 something per hour. That would not happen in the UK. And this is why I'm saying, if you come to Australia, work weekends, work a Sunday, work every public holiday you can. Let me know down below, like, where do you live? And do you pay extra on the weekends and public holidays? Because in England, we don't do that. I found this from a government website and it basically says, like, on the public holidays, you should be getting paid 250% your usual rate. And that is for like hospitality, fast food, pharmacy, health professionals. So if you work on public holidays here, you're gonna be loaded, mate. When you move to Australia, I guarantee you'll meet at least 5 people that do this job. It's a very well paid job and you don't need too much experience to do it, but it's basically called a traffic controller, where you hold the traffic sign or you do the green, amber, whatever lights, I don't even know. But I found this and it was like a job ad. So if you are a traffic controller with less than 6 months experience, you get paid $46 an hour. The public holiday rate, this was good. This is $126.78. So if you work a public holiday as a traffic controller, you're gonna be making bank, mate. You're gonna be earning lots of money. I can only compare it to the UK, but in the UK, if you work a Monday, a Tuesday, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's the same pay. There's probably a few companies out there that may pay a little bit more at weekends, but it's not like 2.5 your normal salary. Like, that's crazy, right? Here is a list of jobs in Australia with potential hourly rates. How I got these figures, I did loads of research for this video and I found, you know, general jobs that you would maybe be doing if you're a professional or you're looking for something more casual or flexible. If you want to work in a coffee shop or cafe, expect to be paid around $25 to $30 per hour. Nursing, $50 plus. Support work, $40 plus. Farming, $25 to $30. Labor, $30 to $40, possibly even more. Bar work and restaurant, that seemed to be paid at the lower end. So generally jobs, I actually did see a few jobs that were paying like $22 an hour, but some were at like $30 plus. This is a big one. So as I said earlier, I know so many people that have done traffic controller jobs and it's insane to me how much they get paid. These jobs were coming like $30 to $50 an hour plus. There was some on there that you get paid like $60 depending on your experience. And if you're working weekends and bank holidays, you're gonna get paid even more. And then lastly, another big popular job is mining, or you might hear the term FIFO, which stands for fly in, fly out. This is a really popular job to do if you're based in Western Australia. So companies and jobs will pay you, they'll fly you out on a plane to the middle of nowhere in Australia to a mining site where they have you know, it's kind of like a living facility, but people will work like 2 or 3 weeks on, and then they'll come home for like 1 to 2 weeks, and then they'll go out. So they spend their whole time, they'll work every single day for like 2 weeks, and then they fly back to Perth. The next thing we're going to talk about is farm work. Now, if you are doing a working holiday visa or you've done any research, you've probably come across the phrase farm work. Farm work is a term stereotyped with the 88 days that backpackers used to have to do to get a second or third year visa. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but if you are looking for farm work, there are a few links down below in the little guide that I've put together, but this is another way that you can earn more money. Getting your 88 days is a lot more easier than it used to be. So prior to COVID, I think, you used to have to do 88 days on a farm in some regional area, but now you can do things like COVID work, bush work recovery, flood recovery, hospitality and tourism in remote areas or states like Queensland. A lot of people go to Cairns and get a job in a bar, and that now counts as your 88 days. When a few years prior, you used to have to go to like a banana farm or something to get your 88 days. I personally did mine in COVID recovery. I worked at a health clinic where we gave COVID vaccines, and that counted as my 88 days because I was helping people that were impacted by COVID. So I felt really lucky to be able to do that and continue to live in Sydney. There are a lot more opportunities out there than you think, so do look around. But there is a page on the government's website that has all the postcodes, so if you're looking for a job and you're not quite sure, does it count as my 88 days, this will tell you if it's in that postcode. Next up, we'll be speaking to Sophie, who has just finished her first year working holiday visa. How long did you spend in Australia?
We were there for 14 months, thereabouts.
How long did it take for you to get your first job?
So I'm a primary school teacher. I was hoping to teach primary school when I went to Australia. And I thought it would all come through very, very quickly and I could start straight away. And it ended up taking 2 months. So I actually spent the first month not looking for a job, just waiting for this registration to come through. And then after a month of having a great time in Sydney, I walked into a cafe and they said, yeah, sure, no problem, come work for us. They were so short-staffed in Australia that literally you just had to walk into a pub, a restaurant, a cafe, and they'd take you straight away.
The reason I wanted to talk to you is because you had a very different job experience, I guess.
I sort of went straight into a job. I spent 6 months there, and now I'm just doing like random jobs. Whereas I know when we initially spoke, you'd done loads of different things. Can you tell me what kind of jobs you've done over the last year?
So I was in the cafe to start off with. Then after the cafe, I went and I started doing primary school teaching. So I was working as a substitute teacher in Sydney, which was amazing. They pay their teachers very well. And then we took off to Western Australia and we were coming back to this side of the country and we thought, right, we need to get another job because we've spent all of our money in Western Australia. We got a job picking cherries on a cherry farm.
How did you get the job on the cherry picking farm?
So there's this app called, or not app, a website called Swaggy. Really, really good website. But they also had theirs up on the Facebook groups, like the backpackers in Australia and that kind of stuff. It is hard to get farm work if you don't have a car. A lot of places that we were looking at wanted you to have your own transport, I suppose, because they're so isolated.
Yeah.
If they don't have accommodation right on the farm, it can be very, very hard for you to get to wherever you're going.
And what other jobs did you do?
And when we were working in the cherry farm, we were in this gorgeous town inland from Sydney. So while we were in this town, we thought, you know what, this is fairly nice. I wouldn't mind staying here. We went into the local pub in the town and we just said, look, we're looking for work for these 2 months, but they're finding it so hard to staff people that they were delighted to have us. They put us up in accommodation, which was absolutely amazing. So we worked there. So while I was there, I worked in the pub they owned, and then all of the pubs there are hotels too. So worked in the hotel as cleaning staff and also in the kitchens.
So Sophie, can you tell me about some of the wages that you've earned? Like what's the most you've been paid whilst being in Australia?
In a cafe and in a pub and that, I was making $27 an hour in the pub. And then on the weekend, it would jump up to about $35 an hour. And then the best part then was on public holiday days, you'd get about $57 an hour, which is amazing.
And what's been your most paid, like your highest paid job in Australia?
But we were averaging, as a substitute teacher, I was averaging about $300 a day.
Okay, that's really good.
Do you have any tips for backpackers coming here? Like any advice you'd give them about finding work in Australia?
So I think the main thing that Australians are really looking for is more your personality as opposed to your experience. So when you do go in, don't just send off emails, walk around with your CV into the local cafes, have a big smile on your face, look like you want to be there, and they'll be delighted to have you. I was terrified the first time I went into a cafe. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But they were all so amazing, so friendly. They teach you everything. So just don't be afraid to try any job. Just have the right personality and you're ready to go. That's the main thing, really, I'd say.
So to sum up, a few general tips for finding work in Australia is firstly, be willing to be a bit more flexible around maybe the work that you're doing, the location. If you do have a professional job at home, begin to embrace a different kind of life. You know, if you don't choose the corporate route and say, for instance, you're an accountant, if you don't move to Australia and you choose not to be an accountant, maybe you end up working in a coffee shop or a cafe or whatever it might be. That might feel a bit different. I had a friend that really struggled with the concept of going from being an accountant in a high paid job to moving to Australia and just working in a cafe, but there is nothing wrong with that. It just felt different, but I think embrace it. It's a good different. If you have a bad feeling, trust your instinct, don't go forward with the job. And lastly, consider asking to be on a casual contract. This will allow you to earn more money and have flexibility. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I really hope you found it useful. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions at all, make sure you leave them down below in the comments. I'm going to be doing a Q&A at the end of this series just to answer any other questions about what it's like to move to Australia on a working holiday visa. So make sure you hit subscribe down below, give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. So take care and peace out.